So, good afternoon. It's really a pleasure for me to be able to welcome you in the city of Brussels, a city that remains firmly in the spotlight with the upcoming European Union elections. But Brussels is not only home to the European institutions, it is also the home of Euroclear, ever since it was founded over 55 years ago. That's why we are especially pleased to join this year's ICMA conference and to welcome the distinguished guests from around the world. The world economy and its capital markets have been going through an uncertain times. Here in Europe, the economy is recovering from a period of turbulence, and its financial markets remain exposed to a multitude of risks. We are all tasked with navigating an uncertain political landscape, a world under increased geopolitical pressure, and economic indicators remain fragile. Looking to our medium-term future, Europe will continue to face challenges to economic growth. We have an aging population, we will be increasingly impacted by climate change, and we know that in a more competitive and more insecure world, we must invest into critical sectors to ensure our strategic autonomy. We will need to find an additional 700 billion euro every year just to finance the green transition. And an extra 125 billion euro is needed for our digital transition. How much more will be also needed in defense and in healthcare? Can all this be financed through public sector funding alone? I am an optimistic by nature, and I'm truly convinced that we will solve the equation together. One of the solutions, and this is not new, is to further expand and deepen the European capital markets. We have a pressing need for resilient, liquid, integrated, and efficient capital markets to support the real economy. This is widely acknowledged in the current policy landscape with a renewed sense of urgency coming from reports by the European Council, among others. But fair to say that we have not seen enough improvement in areas such as equity finance and retail investment, where Europe is punching well below its weight. In a more nuanced way, or more nuanced view of the state of play, I believe that we should not underestimate the progress made to date. Starting with the bond and the equity markets, data is a lifeblood of today's market. It opens tremendous opportunities along the value chain, and the European single access point and the consolidated tapes for bonds and equities will expand the span of information made available to investors, supporting the need for comparable information across markets. Turning to sustainable finance, we have adopted foundational frameworks to support the effective allocation of capital for the green transition. And implementing these frameworks requires a lot of effort for European companies. These efforts will help us shift to a greener economy, which is crucial for sustained growth over the longer term. We need to be careful, though, in defining our ambitions and the regulatory burden, because getting the balance wrong will lead to a competitive disadvantage for the European companies. So we should recognize the progress made so far, but we should also keep in mind that the development of a true single capital market for Europe will take time. And this is one of my main messages today. We have moved past the stage of identifying easy wins, and structural changes with long-lasting impact requires a strong commitment and political will, because there is a lot of heavy lifting required to build a truly integrated capital market. We need to focus our efforts on three big challenges. Firstly, the EU needs to expand access to market-based finance and the supply of risk capital. Promoting the growth of deep pools of capital on a European scale is the most pressing challenge we face. Greater availability of funding from retail and institutional investors is vital for companies to raise capital, to expand and grow. We know that the wealth is there. Eurozone households have net asset worth of 60 trillion, mostly locked up in real estates and in bank deposits. Member states such as Sweden have demonstrated that it is possible to encourage high rates of household participation in capital markets through tax incentives and a supportive regulatory environment. Achieving similar results on an EU-wide scale would be a true game changer for the CMU and the global standing of EU financial markets. Secondly, we need to prioritize the attractiveness of European capital markets and the global competitiveness of businesses located in the EU. Being able to attract and retain international companies and support European champions in critical sectors is important to strengthen strategic autonomy and economic security. And thirdly, we need to work towards a more effective integration of EU markets to unlock the economies of scale of the single market. This means enabling true competition among market infrastructures and converging the fundamental frameworks that underpin well-functioning capital markets, such as insolvency laws, tax procedures, and securities laws. At Euroclear, we have worked to maximize the synergies among our infrastructures with successful integration and within the boundaries of this current legal and regulatory reality. But we can certainly go much further if EU authorities and member states take necessary steps and work to remove undue barriers, and I'm conscious that these are no low-hanging fruits. They are complex work streams touching on fundamental aspects of national sovereignty. I stress here the importance of creating the right conditions. Only competition can bring efficiency, innovation, cost reduction, and strategic autonomy. Competition needs open access principles, interoperability, and harmonized rules across the member states, which are the indispensable conditions to develop cross-border flows and trigger potential consolidation. Representing the leading group of CSDs in Europe, Euroclear is ready to be at the forefront of this change, working with all market players. I would be remiss in not mentioning the importance of a prospective transition to T+1 in Europe, a topic that will be discussed, I guess, later on this afternoon. I would just observe that this has the potential to be another transformative development for the European financial markets. With the US migration going live in a few days, we are ready to support the work ahead in Europe. Now, this being the ICMA conference of the year, let me say a few words as well about the importance of fixed income markets in Europe's financing agenda. Beyond the well-documented challenges in equity finance, debt financing should also be playing a much greater role in the financing mix of European companies. As the ICMA has noted recently, bond markets have the capacity and potential to provide the largest source of financing for companies to underpin sustainable economic growth across the EU, as well as provide a relatively safe and attractive option for households to invest their savings. Across the financial, borrower, and corporate bond landscape, Eurobonds are uniquely placed to be a key contributor to the development of EU capital markets, as they already offer a single European market for debt issuance today without any fragmentation and with a proven track record of over 50 years. With an outstanding value of 13.2 trillion euro, Eurobonds are the largest fixed income market in Europe and one of the largest globally. Eurobond market growth is outpacing that of global debt securities markets by more than 11% since 2018 as a testimony of their success. And for me, the Eurobond market is a success story for Europe. It is a vehicle conceived in Europe, which now has truly global reach. Eurobonds have a proven track record of assisting borrowers seeking to raise capital in the international markets due to their stability, deep pools of liquidity and transparency, attracting a wide range of investors globally. They play a significant role in the journey towards a more sustainable future and evolve in conjunction with development technology, including digital issuances. In addition, Euroclear provides its international investors with a range of collateral and lending services, enabling participants to achieve capital efficiencies and manage risk and liquidity. So let me conclude with a few final remarks. We have all done well in navigating the complexity of our current world. I am confident that our financial ecosystem remains robust and well-equipped for the challenges ahead. Euroclear is a strong backbone and globally competitive financial market infrastructure. We will continue to drive forward positive change just as we have done until now. And as we begin a new EU political cycle, we need to focus our collective efforts on what matters most for our continent's financial future. We must focus on broadening the pool of liquidity by attracting more issuers and investors, on removing barriers to competition and integration and supporting innovation in Europe's capital markets, on taking advantage of the scale of the single market to strengthen Europe's strategic autonomy. I am convinced that with political will and industry collaboration, we can achieve an attractive and deep capital market to support Europe's economic security and growth in the coming decades. Thank you very much.